Welcome back to the Dynamic Duo podcast. For the past few weeks, we've been talking about different areas of personal growth. Today, we want to dive deeper into the topic of emotional growth. Because emotional growth is a lifelong journey. This journey requires time, dedication, self-reflection, but most of all, it requires practice. We want to dive deeper into this topic by figuring out what we can do practically to grow emotionally and to be more self-aware about triggers and other stuff that throw us off. Let's just start and dive into the topic of emotional growth.
Hi, Anja. Good to see you again. How are you doing?
Hi, Armando. I'm doing great. And how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's almost Saturday, so weekends are always good. Time to
Yeah,
relax, time for family, time to do laundry, go shopping, and things like that.
exactly.
Right. But we are going to talk about mental health, and that's part of it. I guess accomplishing things and getting things done, and moving forward in life is part of mental health, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I feel overwhelmed, I feel, when life is out of control, my mental health suffers. So,
Yeah.
anxiety and stress, and sometimes because of these different responsibilities that we have in life, we kind of like leave it aside and until the point that we are just tired and maybe sometimes we don't even realize it until we burnt out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that affects a lot of people and even young people in our day. So that's the reason why we are talking about this topic. Let us talk about a little bit about the benefits, just like a quick overview, why it is important, talking about not only talking but really learning and then put it into practice. What do you think, Anya? What are some of the benefits of a good mental health?
Well, you've mentioned some of the downsides like
Hmm.
anxiety, stress, depression. So the benefit, of course, is that we don't have them or that we can avoid
Hmm.
those bad um, things. And also, it does help us to have better self-esteem and confidence.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Mm.
those are two things. Do you have some more?
Well, if we just think about the way our life functions, in worst case scenario, if people suffer because of low
Mhm.
self-esteem and depression and so on, it brings balance to our lives, right? It brings a little bit more of a positive, healthy, a growth mentality, and just like a really well-rounded type of view of life, taking on to challenges, being able to tackle the everyday fight that we all go through. That the fights that we all have in common, fights, quote unquote, of course. I mean, finances, work, family, and so on. So yeah, I think that is one of another benefit of having a good mental health. Health, not help. Well, sometimes we need help.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. What about relationships, Anya? What are some of the benefits regarding relationships, quote unquote, a good mental health?
Well, I would say when it comes to relationships, also when we have better mental health or also emotionally grow, we we're more self-aware
Hmm.
of the triggers, and
Hmm.
that also helps in relationships because sometimes something someone else says triggers
Hmm.
us, and the other person didn't even mean what we hear. And when you're aware of the triggers in your life, you can realize much faster that that was just a trigger, that was never what the other person meant.
Right.
So that can help a lot in relationships.
Yeah, that's very well said. Why are you looking at me that way? You remember, I remember when we were kids, like you're he's looking at me, or like you cross my line. This is my
Yeah,
line. Stay away. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yes,
yeah.
that's very true. And I guess as a result, speaking of benefits, of course, better, deeper connections. Better
Yeah.
communication, better, of course, as just as you said, but also fosters better connections with people, a more healthy communication and connection. But because this is very important, you mentioned that like we react. We if we
Mhm.
are in not optimal mental health situation, we are in a reactive modus. Oops.
Yeah.
We are something fell off. We are in a reactive modus, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
we are jumpy. We are behind. We are not in our game. We are not creative.
Hmm.
We are always stressed out, and I guess having a good mental health will help us to be in a proactive way of life, in a proactive mentality. If conflicts appear, we are prepared. We can look for solutions, optimal solutions, and resolve conflicts. Any other benefits, Anya, that we get from having a good mental health?
Well, I would say you'll just feel better.
You
That's
just feel better.
that's the best. I mean, you're more resilient, so not
Mm,
things don't throw you off your game
yeah.
very fast
Mm,
because I mean, life throws things at you you can't control. That's just that's just life.
that's just
But
life.
that's just life, yeah. But when you grow and especially emotionally, you can handle those balls or whatever you want to call them, the things life throws at you, you can handle them better. And even though it will be hard sometimes,
Mm,
it's it will be the hard thing will be a little bit easier. I don't know how
mm.
to say that.
Yeah, no.
And
I think
also, I think
yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's also important to realize that this doesn't mean you always have to feel good.
Mm,
I think emotional intelligence and growing emotionally means that all emotions should have their space. If you're sad, feel sad.
mm,
That's not feelings, nothing's bad about being sad. Nothing's bad about sometimes being angry. The question is, does it throw you off your game so that you can't, like, depression, sadness and depression are different spectrums of
mm,
being sad. That's
mm.
yeah, but every emotion should have its proper place.
Right. I put it this way, I mean, those emotions are there, but they don't control your life, right? For example,
That's
if
yes.
right, for example, if you are angry, of course, things happen, but we choose how to react to that
Hmm.
situation, and you might feel that, but then what are you gonna? I have the choice, am I gonna scream at someone? Am I gonna
Yeah,
offend someone? Right? Am I gonna break something? Right?
yeah.
And sometimes I find those videos in YouTube. You probably know what I'm talking about, or maybe our viewers, these road rage videos. When people are like, they get angry on the highway, and the autobahn, and,
Uh,
and they start fighting with each other. They just, it's out of control, and they
mm,
they endanger others, and sometimes people get killed because they cause accidents and so on and so forth. But a righteous anger, it has a place in life. When why am I feeling this way? What can I do about this? So we have to control our emotions, and not
mhm.
let our emotions take the lead. That's always maybe
Yeah.
that's not good.
No, that's not good.
Right, right. So we want to talk about we have either we have a choice, self-awareness or resilience. Your pick, Anya, because this is part of of how we promote, how we get strong mentally.
Yeah, I would choose self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Oh, that's a nice choice. Very good.
Mm.
So this is the way I'm going to I define this situation. And when we talk about self-awareness, right? Self-awareness is this ability to understand our own behavior, right? Understand our own emotions. Where you just talked about that. Why do I feel this way? What is causing that? What's triggering this? Because sometimes it's a real situation. Sometimes maybe I just didn't have a good night's sleep,
Yeah.
or sometimes I'm hungry maybe, and I react not well enough. I don't know. Anya, how does hunger affects you? That's a big
Oh,
trigger for me.
it is a big trigger for me
Yeah.
too.
Are you a foodie like me? I love food. You know.
It's the hangry, the word, that's me.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
When I'm hungry, I get angry. Yeah.
I know, I know. So hunger and sleep, big triggers for me. I need to take. I need
Yeah, for
to
me too.
be on the look for that. So yeah, I mean, just this ability to filter that. Why am I behaving that way? Why am I feeling that way? Finding those triggers, and of course, the reactions,
Mhm.
and of course, not just looking at that from an abstract perspective, but to really understand the way these actions, emotions influence my life, our environment, our family, our place of work, our co-workers, and our lives in general. So that's the way I will define self-awareness. What do you think? Anything you want to add to that, Anya?
Yeah, I would say it's also knowing your strengths,
Mm,
weaknesses, like we mentioned before, triggers, what throws you off very fast. Um, yeah, I think those things are also part of being self-aware, is like knowing those things, knowing your blind spots,
mm,
asking people, what is the thing I don't see about myself? And really having the courage to actually look at those things. I think sometimes we don't really want to know because we don't want to know the bad things about ourselves that we don't see yet. But we don't have to be perfect.
mm.
And it's actually better to know and um, to know what your weaknesses are. So it's also freeing, I think, because sometimes we want to be good in everything, but if
Mm,
you see that there are weaknesses you have, you don't, yeah, you can just accept them and also be maybe more patient with others because you have weaknesses and strength, and so others have them too, and it's okay to have them.
right.
You don't have to be perfect everywhere. Well, you're not perfect anywhere, so
Right, right.
but yeah, that.
The mental health. I mean, it seems like we have an epidemic of mental health, or unhealthy mental health, um, in in the world, really, after the pandemic, right? Lockdowns
Mm.
and restrictions, alcoholism went through the roof, violence at home went through the roof, even sexual assaults went through the roof. And I think we are still recovering out of that as a society. I mean,
Yeah.
in general, especially kids, teenagers. One more reason to really pay attention to our today's situation. How am I acting? How do I talk to people? Why am I behaving that way? So we have some of practical tips for you, for all of you. Part of what we do in our mastermind and coaching business as coaches that could help us bring balance to the force. No, really bring balance to our life, and we want to share some of those with you. Do you want to start, Anya, or should I start?
Yeah, I can start with one thing. I'm practicing and learning more and more. I've read a book about hurry and how to end hurry. And one of the things in there, one of the tips in there was silence and solitude.
Mhm.
It's actually, I mean, call it however you want to. If you call it prayer, if you call it meditation, it's just being alone and silent with yourself. And I think for me, it's really interesting how it changed me when I started to, because I was someone who was listening to podcasts all the time. I was listening to music. Whenever I left my apartment, I had earphones in my ears and I was listening to something.
Mm.
And now I started to really not always fill myself, but sometimes just let my thoughts be. And I told you off camera, I intentionally go jogging without anything,
Mm.
just so I can let my thoughts be whatever they are. And I'm in nature outside. Um, those are things I think are really great for our mental health. It's just to process our thoughts, to process what happened, to think and just be silent for a moment without anything filling our heads and hearts. Just also going out in nature. I think
Mm.
I combine the two
Mm.
oftentimes. I go for a walk or go running, like I said, and it's just it is good.
Yeah.
I feel like it has changed me in a very positive way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Beautiful. We were talking off camera a little bit ago, and talking about that and how important that is. Yes, and that's one of the things I'm trying to get better at right now. You know, in my prayer life, just to be stronger, to be consequent, to be more intentional. So yeah, that's very nice. Thank you. I have one thing that helps me on the spot, really quick. You know, and there are different breathing exercises, and the one that I use that I can use really quick on the spot is the 4x4 exercise. And if you can think of this on the screen, you know, right now, you know, like these four sizes, right? So divided into four, you know, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds. So whenever I'm getting ready for an interview, whenever I'm ready for you know, to write something, whenever I'm ready to write an email, maybe if it's a touchy subject and I don't want to mess it up, you know, whenever I feel a little anxious, I do this exercise, and it works within 1 minute. Right. So what I do is that I will breathe deep. I will fill my lungs really, you know, to the fullest in 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the next 4 seconds I will hold it, right? And then in the next 4 seconds, and the screen helps me to keep track 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So in the next 4 seconds, I will exhale everything out. And then in the next 4 seconds, I will hold it before I breathe in again. And then from the beginning. And it's amazing. You know, like after 3, 4 repetitions, it just works marvelous. You know, it just like calms me down as my heart rate uh, it's calm and steady. I feel focused. I feel relaxed. Of course, never do something like this behind the wheel or operating heavy machinery, please. But, you know, take a break, sit somewhere in safety, and so on and so forth. That's what I do, and it works marvels. And there are many other breathing exercises. You know, oxygen, because oxygen in your blood and your brain is so important. And that's what happened. You know, sometimes when we get angry or our emotions are out of control, you know, like we are like tunnel vision and block everything out, and not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you have another good tip, Anya, for our viewers?
Well, I want to add to that, to your tip
Hmm.
a little bit, because I used to or sometimes still struggle with anxiety.
Hmm.
And that's actually one thing my therapist told me is breathing exercises.
Mm.
So it really is also if you struggle with with anxiety or nervousness, just sit down and focus on breathing.
Mhm.
Like you said, that helps a lot and
Yes.
can really
Yeah.
help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And one more thing I would say is we've mentioned it a few episodes ago, journaling.
Yeah.
Writing your thoughts down,
Mm.
writing your emotions down.
Mm.
It's also like when you write your emotions down,
Mm.
or when you write down how you reacted to something and you read it again, that makes the whole thing, you can see it from like an outside perspective a little bit more, and that could also help you. And it can also help you to reflect and to go back and see it again. And yeah, I would say journaling is also something that can be very helpful for people to get your thoughts and emotions out in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, of course, learning and informing yourself is always part of it. Do your own
Yeah,
research, read books. I mean, there are podcasts everywhere. Of course, our own podcast. You can. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, do it now, please, and send us your comments. We love to hear from you. But really, I mean, information is there. Podcasts, books, workshops, seminars. So take advantage of that, inform yourself, and grow. That's a big part of it. You have to really be proactive. Don't wait. Don't let it get out of control. If you notice that you are in need, or you're like feeling, or you're like sensing, oh, something is not right there. Look for help. And maybe
yeah,
it's worthwhile mentioning that in some cases, for example, Anya and I, we're coaches, but we're not therapists, right?
yeah,
And in some cases requires the intervention of a professional.
yeah.
So look for help. Get in touch with us. Book a discovery call with us, and maybe we can help you with the ABC. But in some cases, you might need to visit a doctor. Maybe you might need to visit a nutritionist, because sometimes it has to do with that, a bad diet, something like that,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you might need to find a psychologist, and a spiritual guide, or something like that. So pay attention to those things, right?
Mhm.
Anything else, Anya? I think we are coming close to our end, but in case we forget something.
No, I would just be interested in knowing a little bit more from our listeners.
Mhm.
What are things you do um, to stay healthy mentally, to balance mental health? And yeah, just drop us your suggestions in the comments, so
Mhm.
we and everybody who reads the comments can learn from you too.
Mm-hmm.
That
Exactly.
would be
That's right.
interesting.
That's right. Well, people, I mean, the topic is huge. Next week we'll be back. We'll keep taking apart, breaking down this whole aspect of what is mental growth, personal growth. In these two episodes, we've been talking about emotional growth, but next week we'll touch another aspect of that. So make sure to join us. Until then, Anya,
Have a blessed week.
have a blessed week. Till then, bye bye.
Bye.